Bottled Water Damages the Environment by John Lewis and Jack. Bottled water has existed for centuries. Originally sold in glass bottles, it has only been in recent times that the switch to PET was made. Water bottles made from this offer a much cheaper alternative than glass and allow for a safer container for transport and consumption. This switch would incept a boom in the production and distribution of the bottled water industry, even in nations who possessed free clean tap water. This wouldn't stop countries such as the US from spending over $100 billion on bottled water per annum. PET is the most common material used to manufacture because it is strong and light, which would be ideal for a water bottle. Energy required to make this PET is around 3.4 megajoules of energy to make a 1 litre plastic bottle, including the cap and the packaging. To bottle 31.2 billion litres of water, it requires more than 106 billion megajoules of energy. According to the Pacific Institute, they estimate that more than 17 million barrels of oil were needed to produce these plastic bottles. The energy used to transport bottles varies, as there are many ways to distribute bottled water around the world, such as air cargo, trucked cargo ships and rail shippings. Fiji Spring Water and Evian are both bottled water companies that travel and distribute from a long distance. Fiji Bottled Water has to travel across the Pacific to LA. The total energy used to deliver to the streets of LA is approximately 4 million joules per litre for transportation. Evian, on the other hand, used 5.8 million joules per litre, as the water is from the French springs, which requires more transport. The manufacture of every tonne of PET produces around 3 tonnes of CO2. An estimate in that is that the footprint is roughly 82.2 grams of CO2 equivalent per half-litre bottle, but The Guardian has been quoted on saying that it is insignificant when everyone's drinking it. In 2006, bottling water created more than 2.5 million tonnes of CO2. To put that in comparison, in the same year an entire coal-fired power plant would produce roughly 4.5 million tonnes. The consequences bottled water have on the environment is that the plastic bottle of water take around 1,000 years to fully biodegrade, and with approximately 80% of these bottles not being able to be recycled, they're left to become litter in the US. Although PET are made out of completely recyclable materials, but it does not biodegrade. It photodegrades, which means that they will break down into smaller fragments over time. These fragments can absorb toxins, which can pollute the seas, contaminate the soil, and sicken the animals, which we then eat. The effects of water bottles to animals. Plastic bottles are often found in areas where animals live, which means that animals can get affected by the pollution of water bottles, as they can mistaken it for food. Plastic in aquatic ecosystems doesn't just become a problem when they wrap around an animal or end up blocking their digestive system, which can also lead to the fish we eat getting poisoned. Marine life is highly affected by the pollution of plastic water bottles, with fish in the North Pacific ingesting 12,000 to 24,000 tons of plastic each year. The consequences to us. The copious amounts of CO2 emissions from the production and manufacture of bottled water contributes heavily to global warming and will of course lead to rising sea levels, changes in the ecosystem, and a reduction of the ozone layer. The UK consumption of bottled water has risen by around 8.2% in the last year from a study in 2015. That's almost 3.3 billion litres of water. This profits with a retail value of around £2.5 billion, so you can understand why businesses are still producing bottled water even with the massive amounts of problems the whole process causes. The process involves injection moulding to create the shape of the bottle. Some machines are able to manufacture over 10,000 bottles every hour. The bottling plants can lead to local water shortages to houses nearby the plant, as it takes at least millions of gallons of water to manufacture the bottle. Plastic waste often ends up in landfills and waterways. The pollution is getting worse as it was formed a floating patch of garbage in Pacific Ocean, roughly the size of Texas. Marine life is heavily affected as the rubbish makes the water toxic, which can lead to shortages of fish. Within each year, 17 million barrels of oil are used to create plastic we use for the bottles. For comparison, 17 million barrels of oil is enough to fuel over 1 million cars for an entire year. This is not a sustainable process, which needs to change before the environment around us completely deteriorates. Here is the life cycle of a water bottle. Beginning with the sourcing of the raw materials needed to produce PET bottle and ending with the disposal. Oil is extracted from the earth and then cleaned at refineries and sent to plastic factories where the oil is made into plastic pellets, which are then heated and shaped into water bottles. They are then transported to bottling plants where they are filled with water and are then ready to be transported to distributors. Consumers will of course then purchase these bottles of water to be used, and then most of the plastic will end up in landfills. Some of the bottles are recycled into goods such as carpets. However, plastic can't be recycled into more plastic bottles due to health and safety reasons. The US is the largest consumer of bottled water, shortly preceded by Mexico, then Brazil, and then China. Although it is not to be noted that per continent, Europe are only 2% behind North America. Bottled water companies and beverage producers work in concert for the purpose of huge profits. Bottled water manufacturers advertise their products to be of a higher quality than tap water, while stating it is more pure and more safer to drink. However, tap water must meet significantly higher quality standards, and it is more vigorously tested. It has been found that certain companies have been bottling tap water to be sold as freshly bottled water. Trusted household names such as Evian, Volvic, and Highland Springs are some of the largest to the problem we've discussed, and although the PET used to make the aforementioned companies' bottles is 100% recyclable, it is the consumer's responsibility that it is recycled and their duty not to litter, especially in natural environments. In conclusion, the amount we use plastic in bottles needs to change drastically. Companies are able to make money packaging water while some people in the world are unable to drink clean water. Both the making and transporting of these bottles uses up the limited amount of fossil fuels left in the world. The biodegradability of these plastic bottles is poor and takes a very long time, leaving them to just sit in landfills. Adding to this, once these plastics start to finally biodegrade, they leak harmful toxins into the earth, leading to poor soil quality. The plastic that is being used is not easily recycled either. We need to either find a new plastic that is able to be recycled, or one that decomposes quickly without leaking out harmful toxins, or better yet, stop using plastic packaged water altogether. Thank you.